So in terms of holding the sticks, I play palm facing down, and I'll show you first how my right hand works to show you how it should work. So flat part of the thumb, groove in the index finger there. That's how I kind of grip the stick. Usually about a third of the way from the butt end of the stick. You get a nice kind of balancing position um, where the stick will just naturally sort of spring back from the head, and then just wrapping the fingers round and keeping a gap there um, is really important. So that's kind of the kind of general hand position, and then when you get faster you bring the fingers in then as well. So keeping that position between the flat bit of the thumb and the first groove there is really important. So that's how things work with the right hand. And with the left hand, because I can't feel anything, I can't judge how hard I'm gripping the stick. And the problem I've got is that I don't know, I can only play with it gripping onto it tight. When I always keep that gap there, if I'm not looking at my hand, what will happen is it'll just gradually sort of disappear. The grip will move away from where it should be. So it should be that groove there and the flat bit of the thumb. So that's the hand position I want to try and maintain. But quite quickly I'll lose it as I'm playing, particularly if I'm not looking at my hand, and then it'll end up like, well, I looked away for a minute there and it ended up doing that. So I can't feel what it's doing. So I mean the main motion I want to get is being able to do that kind of pivot, sort of up and down pivot on the thumb and the index finger. So being able to have it in a fixed position in the left hand, in that kind of position. So I was kind of thinking maybe something that would work is drilling through the stick, so drilling a hole directly through the stick and having a little pole through it. And then I've got this thing I use, well, I've tried using it, it's not the right size and it doesn't really work very well, for trying to hold a pen, for putting a thumb and finger in. Having that kind of an idea on the stick, but with it being on the pin, if there's a drilled hole and a pin in there, and like this is something I use for typing, so I'll put this on my, well, it's usually that finger that I use for typing on the keyboard, so that's how I type. And I use this just because it's just very sensitive. It's a weird thing, and not only can I not feel things properly, it's also very sensitive. So that's how I get the kind of the touch myoclonus, because it's all of my arm and my hand is sensitive. So yeah, I was kind of thinking if there was a pin that went through, and then like, I mean, this is rubber, but having something that was made out of something more resilient, probably something hard, sort of hard plastic or something, that I put my thumb in on that side, and then on the other side it would be, I'd put my finger in there, so it would, those bits would attach onto the pin that went through. I'd basically be able to slot my thumb in, slot my finger in, and that would give me the basis of the hand position that I want through the grip. Then the next thing is just wrapping the fingers around. But as long as I can maintain maintain that position, wrapping the fingers around and trying to sort the fingers out a bit better, at least I'd be able to not worry about dropping the stick, which happens quite a lot. I'd be able to just keep it in that position and hopefully then move to be able to relaxing my grip a bit more, so I can allow more sort of bounce to come naturally from the head and from that kind of that movement. which I can't at the moment. I have to really concentrate on doing that. So my fingers, this one constantly gets in the way. I can't feel my fingers independently, so if I turned away and if someone touched my fingers, I wouldn't know which finger they were touching, which is a weird thing. It's usually those two that kind of get mixed up. I can generally feel when it's my little finger or my thumb. But yeah, just by way of kind of describing the situation, really. So with that finger, it doesn't. I can't bend them all in the same way. The little finger in particular is quite damaged. So what I tend to do when I'm playing is I'll tuck the little finger behind the other finger before I kind of wrap the fingers around. But the problem is, I can't do anything with any finesse with the left hand. It's just constantly playing from the wrist. So what I've had to learn to do is I'm leading with the left hand now. So I play all the sort of fast, playing the hi-hat with the left hand, do the snare, the hi-hat with the right hand. So the fast stuff on the hi-hat, and then the left hand is now my snare drum hand when I'm playing a backbeat. And Chris will know what this means. So the beat 2 and 4 of a groove, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the 2 and 4 on the snare, I play with the left hand. But it'd be nice to be able to do sort of ghost notes, and sort of ghost notes are kind of quieter notes on the head, which I can do, but from the wrist. What I do to illustrate ghost notes with my right hand, so there I'm kind of doing very gentle movements with my fingers on my right hand. So just doing little, you probably can't see them very well, but using the fingers. So the fulcrum there between the thumb and the groove there sort of just has a very light grip, and the fingers do all the work, just the bouncing off the head. So that's what I was thinking. And if a pin went through the stick, having it kind of connected with the little kind of rubbery bits, like a bit going that way, but in a different material, a bit going that way for the finger to go down into, that would give me a solid thing to sort of contain the stick with. But yeah, I guess the hole would need to be thicker than the size of the pin to enable it to give a little bit more wriggle room. So it wasn't just directly up and down, there was a little bit of sort of give in it as well, just to be able, just to enable a little bit more sort of motion. Yeah, I mean, ideally having like a kind of ball type thing within the stick, but that's getting a little bit too ahead of myself there. Yeah, so anyway, those are my initial thoughts. Apologies if I've just chunted on a little bit there, but hopefully that makes a bit of sense. And yeah, again, just looking away, and that's what kind of happens. I just end up with a club in my hand, which isn't any good really.